Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Snow Day, your number one stop for reviews, rants, and ratings in the world of entertainment. I am your host, Hunter Verrill. Let's get started. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another Snow Day. I am your lovely host, Hunter Verrill, and I admittedly have some explaining to do. So, I know this is certainly more of a recommendation column and less of, my life because we're focusing on the more interesting things here, but among a myriad of technical problems, I was also working on a mulch bagging fundraiser on Friday and then laying the mulch today. My arms are currently in a state that I am unable to hold my phone and look at it in order to read any notes that I've put down. So this one's going to be off the top of my head. And today, in order to have something that is much easier to flow on with improvisation, is we're going to be discussing popularity, and for the most part, unwanted popularity surrounding a type of medium. Now, popularity, in my mind, is almost always going to be a good thing because no matter what comes with it, it ultimately brings money, and money is needed in order to produce entertainment. The more money you have, the more effort, time, and people you can put into something while still having a likely profit to come out of it, and therefore money is important. Despite anyone's passion for the craft like my own, people still have to eat. Houses have to be covered, bills have to be paid, and as such, when something becomes more popular, it becomes easier to work. Shows that have begun with single independent studios on budgets completely out of their own pockets have gotten wildly popular, signed on to massive channels, and everyone working on them is now living in a mansion, and rightfully so. They had a vision, they brought it to life, and everyone loved it. It's cause and effect. But there seems to be this almost, I don't want to say unnecessary, but misguided feeling amongst fan bases of lesser known shows or any other kind of entertainment where if something is to become popular, it's to become worse. And not by any means of it splitting away from the original team, because when the vision is made, it's usually kept. It's in best interest to have, the original creator still be at the forefront no matter how much traction something makes. But regardless, people seem to have ill will towards shows that began as much smaller when it was their little secret, maybe only about 100,000 viewers total, and then sprung up to something that could be seen on national TV. And while I can ever so slightly understand concerns that would come along with that, I feel as though it's a bit wrong to think that way. And obviously, thoughts cannot be controlled. There's no right or wrong morally when it comes to this kind of thing, but this is just my take as far as it seems weird that people who love something would not wish to see it succeed merely because it means it's more exclusive to them. I hear there's some kind of personality trait that comes with knowing lesser things, even though if you enjoy those lesser things, you would likely want them to become more known. I don't understand what the whole idea of mainstream popularity being a bad thing is. Like, obviously, if you really enjoy a song and it happens to be really well charting and you hear it all the time to the point where it becomes annoying, that's going to be an unfortunate thing. But for the most part, I don't think that's what sets people off. I more think it's the fact that other people get to experience the thing that they enjoyed. I guess it would certainly help a lot more to have a guest of someone who would agree with this topic, but again, it's very hard, especially in this day and age, to have a conversation with someone when you have opposing opinions. So I'm going to try my best to look at both sides of the argument in order to best dissect how things should work going forward, and if there's a way to avoid having all of the downsides that apparently come with mainstream popularity in order to keep creators well paid for having good vision, but without leaving things open to a public that would likely mistreat it. And I don't even know what I mean by mistreat, but I'm going to hopefully find out. A really good recent example is one of my previous episodes, Friday Night Funkin', which was a game that began as a celebration of Newgrounds content, but now I don't think you'll find a video made on that game with less than like 10,000 views, and most of the ones that I find are like 5 to 10 million views. It's really a curious thing to me that something could get so popular overnight, but I completely feel like it deserves it. I was so happy to see that it was just exploding onto the mainstream gaming scene because plenty of mods, people making their own original characters and songs in order to be played in the game were being added, and it was open source, so it was more than able to be added. There was a debug mode that made it very easy to add songs and characters into the game without having to have 3 different degrees in programming and song design. The way songs are made in the game very much allows anyone with a keyboard and a sampler to just go ham, and the whole thing just seems so accessible in the most perfect way. The idea that you could bring people together as a community not just to discuss a game, but even to make more of it. That's all, at least I would ever want with something. The idea that even when the game is over, you will always have the community to give you more. A really good example of this is like with the Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. The idea that this Bethesda game that came from a fairly popular series just completely exploded into one of the most favorably remembered games ever created, and easily one of the biggest modding communities. The fact that there are entire storylines that have been created for this game completely free by people who were just really passionate about the game. Everything from that to a shout that makes Thomas the Tank Engine come out of your mouth. It's absolutely brilliant in the sense that you can have the most ridiculous or serious mods to apply to a single game just because it got popular. If Skyrim were to remain underground, even though its predecessors weren't, there would be no modding community to keep it as alive as it is today, and I don't think it would be remembered as well if it weren't to have just such a legendary modding scene. Other examples of things that got popular that made people despise them include things like Rick and Morty. That's a really good example. The fact that it was such a small show in its first season and the fan base was so tightly knit, and then by the time they hit season 3, little me in middle school was like absolutely in love with it. But the problem was, according to most of the people, that because it became popular, it was worse. But as I've explained in my episode, I feel as though season 3 is by far the best moment that show has ever reached, and I don't know if season 5 is going to be able to top it. Everyone was just so upset that it was getting more views, and I didn't understand because the production was going up. They were able to have more and more guest voice actors and everything, and the show managed to feel more dynamic because there were more people working on it. And again, the worst part was, it wasn't like the people were upset that there was being less charm to the show. They were just mad that other people were getting to see it, as if it was some exclusive thing that only they would be allowed to see. I said that I was going to try to look at both sides of the argument. I don't think that's going to happen. It just seems so curious to me that although I understand the Rick and Morty fandom can be really bad, it's incredibly pretentious, really stupid, despite the show being so smart. And it's one of those things where the show has jokes that make you feel smart for understanding them, but you're meant to understand them. Everyone gets them, but because people think they feel so much smarter for understanding them, it seems to go to their head. But the problem is, I have no idea why others' response to a show should in any capacity change how I feel about it. No matter what I see about people jumping on the counter of McDonald's and screaming, wubba lubba dub dub, it doesn't matter. I still enjoy the show. I don't have to accept every part of it. You don't have to love every part of something. You can just enjoy the base show, game, movie, whatever. It doesn't have to mean the entire, anything with the name on it should be your responsibility and you have to make sure that it's regulated. It's completely unnecessary because people are going to be people and people are different. It's okay. It's really fine. A lot of my friends have voiced concern about these things. Rick and Morty, Friday Night Funkin', things like Hazbin Hotel. All these shows that started small, or shows in game, that started small and just built up these massive empires already and have done nothing but soar in the years passing, they seem concerned by it merely because others have access to it, and I just don't understand it. I get that. Here's the best example, if you ask me. Among Us. This game has gotten to the point where anytime I hear the phrase Among Us or the word suspicious, I feel physical pain. And at the same time, it doesn't at all affect how I feel about the actual game. This thing, made in 2018, but for some reason just absolutely exploded in 2020. I don't think a game hit a popularity peak this hard since Fortnite or Minecraft. It lives among the great. I said among. It lives with the greats. And people just went wild with it. There is so much YouTube content on YouTube that is just absolute garbage. It is made to target children and exploit them, honestly. But at the same time, again, just because I don't enjoy what I've seen on platforms regarding the game doesn't mean I should change my opinion about the game itself. It's a completely separate entity despite having the same title. If you look at the subreddit or Twitter page or whatever for something and you go, this is garbage, I'm going to stop enjoying that. What's the matter? I understand that there's meant to be this problem of feeling attached to not even just characters in shows, but shows themselves, games themselves, movies themselves. But it just feels so redundant in the long run to completely worry yourself about what others are doing, especially when it's about entertainment. Hopefully I got you thinking a little bit. Maybe let me know your opinion. See you on the next Snow Day.